beautiful Thursday morning. You can refer to it as Throwback Thursday, but I love to refer to it as Truthful Thursday. You are welcome to another episode of Tea or Coffee. Like I would always say, tea or coffee. On High Impact Television, my name is Buraola Popola, and I have...
My name is Mudikwe Jacobs, and of course, as she has said, you're welcome to Tea or Coffee.
Yes. So today we'll be talking about something interesting, something that you need to pay attention to, something that requires people to talk about awareness.
True.
And today is Throwback Thursday, so we need to throw it back down to secondary school period. Modupe, how was your secondary school experience?
Oh, my secondary school experience was amazing. Aside from the fact that I was flogged a couple of times.
I can relate, I guess.
No, but trust me, I was a very, very, quiet student. Exceptional student.
And you were flogged. Wow.
Okay, but the thing is, we have to talk about this because teachers, in as much as they're doing a great job, most of our teachers, I feel, my opinion now, that most of them haven't gotten the fact that you don't always have to force, your opinions or just be all about you want to pass information to these students. You have to recognize their emotions because even a 2-year-old has emotions, even a 1-year-old child has emotions. So when you're dealing with these students or children, as the case may be, you have to know that, okay, sometimes they may not want to learn. They may have, should I call it brain block or something,
Yes.
or there's something wrong with them, maybe from home, and then they carry that burden to school,
yeah.
and it's difficult for them to concentrate, So you have to recognize that fact and, okay, learn how to, should I call it emotional appeal now?
Yes, emotional intelligence.
Yes, appeal to their emotions and know how to bring them back, take their minds away from what is bothering them, and then pass across your information. That way it sticks. Having a relationship with them also matters.
You have a point there, actually, because I feel that the children, the pupils, most of the time spend time with their teachers.
True.
Because now you resume school 8 a.m. in the morning, and for those that have to go through extra lessons, you stay till 6 p.m. And then you come home 6 to 9, 3 hours with your parents, and you're off to bed. The following day, the same thing, and it goes on like that. So they spend more time with their teachers, and then for me, I think teachers need to, go beyond being a professional in your field or understanding a particular subject or being good at a particular subject. Yeah, you were good. Yes, you know what you are teaching. You are a professional. You're a pro. Yes, good, fine. But then, now, how do you now infuse this knowledge if you do not get the attention? For me now, in my secondary school time, I had a favorite teacher.
True.
Now, not because I loved the subject, but because there was this particular approach, there was this personality that was so welcoming and friendly, that always made me feel like, okay, I could talk to this teacher at any time. Because it went beyond coming to class and having to just write, teach. Do you understand? Most times, the first thing, he comes to the class and then, hello everyone, how are you? He tries to have this personal relationship, try to understand your mood, try and flow with how you are. There was a particular day, I can't remember, but I was down kind of, and then he called me and sat me down like, what's happening? In class, you were not so interactive like the way you are, because I know that Wura would always ask questions and everything. Once I do not understand something, I am willing to ask questions. But then today you're just cold. Are you okay? And then he talked to me. I felt like, okay, I found a friend in that teacher.
True.
Like I was able to relate and explain to him. And then following day, trust me, we had a test. Knowing that I did not, I wasn't paying attention the other day. And the following day, we're supposed to have a test. Do you know, because I didn't want to let him down. Because he spoke to me and told me that do not let your emotions, ruin your academic excellence. So I had to, read and, make him proud.
I can actually relate because I also had a couple of, good teachers that I actually really liked, that I personally paid attention to their subjects in school, talking about literature, English, mathematics, funny enough, because our maths teacher was one of my closest friends in school. No, that's the thing. I actually didn't like the subject, but because of the teacher that was teaching it, I had to pay attention to it because he had a way of just making me feel, okay, you do not like the subject, but you are brilliant enough to understand what mathematics is all about. And at the point, I was actually top when it came to mathematics, just
yes.
because I paid attention to it because I liked the teacher. Now, there were
yes.
some particular subjects that they were simple, easy to understand, interesting, but because the teacher was not just, we didn't have that relationship. I always saw the teachers wicked and not nice, so I just decided not to pay attention to
and they might be going through probably personal problems or issues. Then they come to class and just, there was one day I was like, okay, if you think you are going, I also have my own personal problems, but I'm willing to learn from you. I'm willing to key into your knowledge. And that is why you're teaching me. I don't expect you to, lay out the frustration on me and all of that. So that's
the reason why when you were saying emotional intelligence, they have to know how to handle their emotions, especially when they're in class. You don't have to pour whatever things you're going through at home affects your teaching, your classroom environment and everything. So I really think this topic that we are about to say, because we haven't said it.
Because I know a lot of people will be wondering why we are talking about teachers. Yes, exactly.
Yes. And our topic for today is drumroll, wura.
Okay, our topic for today is educational leadership. And we cannot overemphasize on how important education is. True. But when we come back, we would have a guest, an expert, who would dwell more into what educational leadership is and all that you need to know, parents, teachers, everything you need to know about education. Let's go on the short break, and when we come back, we'll have more to talk on tea or coffee. Stay tuned.
Experience the excitement at High Impact Planet Amusement Park and Resort. Our state-of-art facility offer amazing outdoor rides, playhouses, indoor games, and dining facilities. Thrill your student with a lifetime memorable excursion trip. High Impact Planet. Fun just got real.
Discover the magic. Thrill. Every sight is so close you can feel it. The excitement, the fear. Experience our cinemas at High Impact Planet, the place where fun just got real.
Welcome back. This is still Tea or Coffee on High Impact TV. Of course, we are the first full HD TV station in Nigeria. Now, I still have Uriah with me, and we're talking about educational leadership.
Yes.
And we're trying to relate, since it's Throwback Thursday, we call it Truthful Thursday. We're trying to take it back to when we were in secondary school and the experiences that we had. Now, it is an issue that we should address because most teachers do not know what to do as regards children are having issues. And sometimes they don't even know because they do not pay attention, to these students.
They feel having an idea of the subject is enough.
Exactly.
And just being professional is enough.
Exactly. But thankfully, we have a guest in the studio today who's going to do justice to the topic. Now, I will be reading her profile. So, here we go. Okay, our guest today is Mrs. Toyin Sam Emehelu, and she is an educational leadership legend. She is the lead consultant at Core Skills Development Services, former head of school and convener Educational Leadership Academy. Now, she is a recipient of the prestigious WIMBIZ. WIMBIZ is Women in Business Management and Public Service mentoring program in 2016. She consults for many schools in Nigeria. She's also a renowned speaker at conferences, as well as various platforms within and outside Nigeria, tailored towards revolution of the lives of women, teachers, parents, and pupils.
Toyin holds a bachelor's degree in education biology and master's degree in educational psychology with her doctorate in educational leadership in view. She also holds diploma in Montessori education a certified early childhood expert. She has undergone various trainings in education. She has over 20 years of working experience both as a teacher, school administrator, and head of school. She reads as a hobby and has made tremendous contributions in the development of education in Nigeria through her life-changing seminars and online trainings. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to TL Coffee.
Yeah, thank you.
You
Thank
look
you for
good.
Thank
you.
you.
All right, now you are an education leadership strategist.
Yes.
A lot of people do not understand or have an idea of what
Okay.
educational leadership is.
Yeah.
So now, in your own language, what would you define educational leadership as?
Oh, okay. So basically, it's more or less like a compound word where we have education and leadership.
Leadership.
So it's basically integrating leadership principles, values, leadership tenets in the field of education.
Okay.
So that's just, I think, a layman's definition, not to go into the technical.
Technical part of it.
Yes,
Okay.
Okay, so we're talking about, teachers. And when we say leadership, it has to do with, there's a common saying that be a leader, don't be a boss. So I feel that applies to teachers also. They should be leaders,
Yeah.
lead the students right,
Exactly.
and not be bossy over them. So how do you think that they can incorporate leadership properly while in class?
Okay, fantastic. I was at a training I was speaking at an event on Saturday, and what I mentioned two very profound statements. The first one I told them was that everyone is a leader. I was speaking to educators actually, but I told them everyone, at least you have to lead your life. But it's quite interesting that as teachers, automatically we've been placed in a position of influence.
Sure.
To start leading the set of children that are given to us per time. And so we cannot afford, to just teach these children like that. We have to take responsibility for the lives of these children. And if a teacher has the leadership qualities in him or her, first, he or she can do excellently well leading the children at his or her disposal. Thank you.
Okay, education is a particular sector that should not be toyed with or
Exactly.
played with.
Yes.
So now, what are the techniques and approaches that you think, because we were talking about teachers and,
Yeah.
back then in secondary school, we had our favorite teachers, not because of the subject, but because of the personality.
True. Yeah.
So what is the right approach to, educating pupils or students generally?
Okay, I love the fact that you had already started talking about teacher-student relationship because that opens the door to every other thing that wants to, come to play when it comes to teaching children. And of course, I'm an engaging teacher, engaging trainer. Even the way I speak naturally, I go into the world of the children. And of course, the children we are raising right now are digital natives. We are digital migrants. Okay, so I'm already teaching. Can you imagine?
Wow, your smile alone is even welcoming.
So the teacher-student relationship, we cannot overemphasize that. That is one. And then secondly, certain realistic expectations and goals for those children, because the way children work, they rise to a level of expectation. Okay, and then of course, when it comes to age appropriateness and using techniques that will be relevant to the age of the child you're teaching. So because education cuts across, from the preschool to the nursery to the primary to the tertiary, vocational, adult education, special needs education. So it's a very wide spectrum. So when we talk about how we can, engage children and transmit information, you have to look at the age appropriateness of the child you are teaching. So two major factors. We look at the teacher-student relationship. And then, of course, setting the right expectation, with age appropriateness in mind. Thank you.
Okay.
You know that there are some students that just because they are having, emotional issues, probably from home, maybe their parents are divorced, or personal issues, they do not tend to listen in class.
Yes.
And or some even tend to be more difficult to teach or to talk to in class. Now, as a teacher, how can one approach such a student without having to punish the student? Because some teachers don't even understand that they're actually going through emotional issues, and they tend to punish them, and even makes the case worse. So in such a case, how can a teacher handle such a case?
Okay, so fantastic. I have a couple of friends that we're doing quite a lot of awareness. In our times, just having an education degree is not enough. So I'm going to come from that perspective. First of all, you need to begin to understand personality differences in the classroom. You need to begin to have background checks on, knowing your children as much as possible. So, for example, if you have this background knowledge that a child is going through issues at home, you have to be empathetic, and then bring the child closer. Sometimes just allow the child to be. Because why force information down the child's throat when the child's mind is not here open to receive such information? So I have a team, we call ourselves the Education Redefining Team, and these are the things we begin to talk about. Soft skills for teachers, we begin to explain the fact that it goes beyond you just want to pass information. There is a whole lot more that goes around the child's environment. When I talk about environment now, it doesn't have to be the physical environment alone. We talk about the emotional environment of the child. And so these are the things you need to be able to put in place. And then sometimes your smile is just all that the child needs. To get out of that headache, to get out of that trauma, because a lot of children are traumatized in our world. I don't want to go into all the details, but we all know that parenting now, it's a whole big deal.
True.
And so it could just be that hug. It could just be that eye contact and holding the hand of the child and say, you're welcome to this classroom and I'm here to be there for you. So we're kind of like a pseudo-parent, so to speak. And then, like Mura rightly said, in the first phase of this interview, she was talking about the fact that they spend more active hours with us.
Yes.
More active, not just more time, more active hours with us. And so you could be that teacher that will make the whole world of difference in the life of that child. And I will encourage all my teachers out there, be that teacher.
Okay. Your smile is even getting... Now, let's talk about leadership. Now, you as an educator or a teacher, yes, you must have the capacity of a leader.
Yeah.
You must also have the ability to be a leader. Now, how do you now incorporate or imbibe such spirit and capability into the life of your students also?
Fantastic. The best way to teach is through role modeling. In fact, you don't have to struggle about it. Once you have it, the children, haven't you seen children argue with their parents and say, no, you're wrong, my teacher said this.
Yes.
It's just fantastic. I don't know how, God did it, but it's just like that. Influence is contagious. So it's not really more about what you teach the child now. It's about the role modeling. They take after our writing, they take after the way we work, they take after the way we look. They speak the way we speak.
You even find some students mimicking their teachers.
Exactly. And, we just enter into their world and we invade it. And that's how powerful. We keep saying teachers have superpowers.
Yes, they do.
That's how powerful we can be. It's a whole lot of influence, a whole lot of role modeling. The other aspect of trying to teach a child leadership qualities is just very secondary. The primary thing is be that leader in that classroom. And then see your children just take after you.
Take after you.
Wow.
Okay, I was telling Ura in the first part of this, the show that in school, I was quite a good student, but then I got flogged a couple of times. And then we see on social media so many times that videos that go viral of students being flogged. And I think it's actually been worked on. I think they've stopped it also.
Yes, that's the kind of
last
bill
year
that has been passed by, especially
So
Lagos State government.
Lagos State government.
Yes,
Okay, but I just want to ask: do you think flogging is actually a right way to discipline, a child or a student?
Well, inflicting physical tools on a child for correction is not actually the right way. You and I know that. Yes, it might give us immediate results, but what's the long-term effect? And then we've had this argument that, so we leave them to just do what they need to do. No, we don't do that. There are a lot of other techniques in which you can use to discipline. Most importantly, one of the ways we can go about it is, because I don't like just identifying problems. I like to give one or two ideas to bring about solutions. So does it mean that we shouldn't discipline children anymore? No, that is not what we mean. But you can try to understand the child's love language. And so we have like 5 love languages, you know, the physical touch, the act of service, you know, you have
Words.
yeah, words of affirmation, you know, and all that. So look out for the child's love language. And then within that time, withdraw that love language. I mean, it goes a whole long way. I mean, I do practically with my own biological children, and you know, it really works. It really works. You know, like my son, he loves giving of gifts, and so you just tell him, oh, you don't want to do this, and then mommy's not going to buy you that gift, and then he goes, oh, in fact, he will get it done in a split second, and I'm like, oh, really? So you can actually do that? I mean, didn't I get the result I wanted? Of course I did. And was the child, in fact, sometimes we both laugh at it and then we move on. So, I mean, we can adopt that as a way of helping to make sure that we make those children behave the right way.
Okay. All right, so you need to appeal to their emotions actually to get them.
Exactly.
So for me, I think that should be one of, you know, teaching skills and styles that you need to possess.
Yes.
So now we have other people watching us from other parts of the world, not just Nigeria or Africa. So now, what teaching style do you think is appropriate? I'm not going to limit it just to Nigeria or Africa.
Of course,
all over
fantastic.
the world.
I'm a global educator, so of course I'm going to be giving you techniques from global perspective.
Okay, so what teaching style do you think is
well, okay, so first we have teaching style that is engaging, participatory. Now, the 21st century teacher is not just a teacher anymore. We are now facilitators of learning.
Wow.
Facilitators. And what does a facilitator do? Just what you're doing. I mean, you are engaging me in a discussion. I didn't just sit down here and then you're talking all over my head. True. So that's just the first thing an average educator needs to know. We are facilitators of learning. So what do we just do? We get out of the way and we let the children own their own learning. So we have techniques like, you know, from small groups to pair. You know, think, pair, and share. We have the one for large groups. You know, we have peer mentoring because children learn so much from one another. We have what we call the blended classroom. I'm going to help you out with that because I know now I'm going some. Yes. Okay, so it has to do with incorporating technology and the traditional classroom. So it has I don't want to go into all that. You know, it's going to take so much of our time. Then we have the flipped classroom. Flipped classroom is, let me just explain very briefly, where the children do the research, they read it, and then they come back to the class and discuss with their children, with the teacher. So now it's like, it's flipped. The teacher plays the role of the student, and the student plays the role of the teacher. So of course we have storytelling and storyboarding that is working real well. For example, I've had to tell 1 or 2 stories here, and then it help to drive on my point. You know, so these are just to mention but a few, because I could go on and on. These are techniques that have been, you know, widely proven, and you know, it's fantastic because in as much as technology is very good, we also have to be able to allow children to learn from one another and make it a whole lot interactive. So of course, for children in the tertiary institution, they can, you know, go into what we call service learning. Service learning is basically going to the industry where you're about to fully evolve into, serving there and seeing how you can deploy your skills. And then maybe sometimes you could change your mind. Having had practical experience of the workplace, and you're like, no, it's not really what I actually wanted. You know, maybe it was just a perception, which could be deceptive sometimes. So, you know, and then from the children on the preschool level, anything that could help them use their 5 senses, manipulate, and then, of course, have a good grip of the physical environment.
Because they are smart these days. You'll be amazed at what they can
things they know and they can do. Because I've actually heard the child say, you know, why do I need to go to school when the teacher could go to the internet and, you know, get information and give. I can also go to the internet and read. You know, they just feel they can rely on social media and all that. You know,
but we can't remove the place of human interaction. It's very, very critical. Because in as much as you're not going to marry technology, you know.
You definitely can.
Right? Do you get what I'm trying to say? Technology, well, maybe your boss somehow, but somebody is going to be behind that technology to pay you. And then if you have to become an entrepreneur, you must be able to have good business intelligence in which you can also make presentations. You're not going to present to robots, are you? So that's why, in as much as technology is doing quite a lot, fantastic, there's no doubt about that, we must ensure that technology that engage human interaction is embedded into whatever we're doing in the classroom.
Okay, so I must ask the place of parents when it comes to educational leadership, because it starts from the home.
Yes.
Before they even start going to schools and meeting other students, education starts from the home. So what is the place of parents in terms of educational
so in
leadership?
fact, educational leadership has to do deals with more of changing culture and paradigms. So it's not just parents now, but everyone, all stakeholders in the school community, from the school leadership, school management, down to the teachers, to the children, of course. And I like the fact that you're coming from the parents' perspective. So what I would like to encourage schools to do is, we have a lot of teacher training going on there, but we need to also organize parents' trainings. Because sometimes a lot of parents just found themselves there. They are not really prepared. Parenting is a big deal. I mean, in some other part of the world, it's an industry on its own. So schools need to begin to look into bringing consultants like us to begin to look into, training their parents and, training the parents of the children in their school and begin to help them see some things that should be priority. I think one of the things we are also losing out in our generation is misplaced priority. And if you really look at it, yes, we want to level up, we want to make money, we want to be financially independent and all. But I mean, what legacy are we leaving for the students?
All right,
definitely.
We can keep going on and on. Now, talking about misplaced priority, we need to go on a short break. When we come back, we'll talk more about misplaced priorities, and we're looking at the aspect of parenting in education. Do stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Walking into comfort in a safe environment is every family's dream. At High Impact Planet Resort, our fully furnished service apartment is a home away from home. Amazing views right in your luxurious world. Work out to keep fit for an amazing body at the gym. Get affordable groceries and personal care items at the supermarket. Feel relaxed and beautify yourself at the fully equipped spa. High Impact Planet. Fun just got real.
You caught me there. Welcome back to Tea or Coffee. This is still
Tea or Coffee?
Yes, this is still Tea or Coffee on High Impact Television. And yes, we still have Mrs. Sam Mrs. Toyin Sam Emehelu in the studio here with us in talking about educational leadership. And just before we went to that break, we're talking about misplaced priorities and the place of parents in educational leadership. So you were educating us on that.
Okay, so the home is the most fundamental organization in the whole world. And so if we don't really get it at the home front, there is little or nothing we can do out there. And parents need to understand that they need to, couples, let me put it that way. There is a place for having a family vision. I mean, this can be strange to some people, but I remember about 10 years down the line when I was about getting married, my husband and I sat down and we had a family vision. We had family core values, what we wanted our family to stand for.
Okay.
Now, it's not going to be a ride in the park, quite all right. But you know, what it helped us to do was to create a sense of direction and a plan, you know, at the beginning of the journey. And looking back to almost 10 years now, it has really helped us to put perspective in place. So, you know, we don't have roles like the typical, oh, this is the husband role, this is the wife role. No, we fall into these roles based on situation.
Okay.
So I'm not trying to advocate that maybe women should sit down at home while the men go get all the money. No, because there are days when I have to get out there. My husband, he's at home cooking for the kids.
Wow.
And then, of course, when it's time to pay house rent.
I get that.
You would balance
So you can have a mental picture of what I'm trying to talk about. And it's been a very fantastic journey. You know, of course, not void of its own challenges, but over the years, we've been able to go through the process. And then our children have an equal, how will I put it now, a balance of relationship with mom and then, of course, with dad. And it will shock you, we never had a maid.
Wow.
Well, it was a decision we made early. And then, of course, we knew that we just wanted 2 children. And then, so, but it all boiled down to a family vision. So I would like to encourage parents, or, you know, when the 2 lovebirds kind of coming together, you know, let them sit down together and kind of have a fun. What do we want to make out of our homes? I mean, I don't need anybody to tell me that my children are going to be so successful, because I know from the beginning, even before I had them, before I saw them physically, I saw them in my mind eye. And that's where educational leadership comes into play. So I saw them in my mind eye. And then I kind of have had a mental picture of what I want them to turn out to be. So having the end in mind, you know, it's one of the principles, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a book written by Stephen Covey.
Okay.
And then it was one of the things that helped to form that bedrock for us as a family. So I would like to tell parents to have the end in mind. You know, while you are at the point of starting that home, think about the next 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years and kind of think, what would you want your lineage to be known for and what legacy do you really want? You know, money is a tool, quite all right. We can't overemphasize that, but it's just a tool and it could be constructive or destructive.
Okay. You know, according to UNESCO Institute of Statistics, their director, Sylvia Mentoya, once mentioned something that when you put education, having access to education definitely is part of the picture.
Exactly.
But now a lot of people feel that, okay, you having education is enough, having access to it. Now, they do not consider learning crisis, the things that could go wrong in the process of being educated. So what are the learning crises that you see or you have realized that crumbles or affects the educational sector of the country?
Well, it's a huge one, and then of course it's a broader scope. When we talk about Nigeria as a nation, we have so much challenges that we have to battle with, especially in our industry, from national budgetary to stigmatization of teachers to the wide spectrum between the public and the private sector, in the education industry, to, just name it, to even a lot of schools not being run well with the right facilities but I have in my own organization, I've decided to be a part of the solution, and then not allowing the problems to overwhelm us. So for me, I have been able to, I wouldn't really want to talk more about the problems here. When you're talking about, there was a word you used there. Is it the
learning crisis?
Learning crisis. I don't want to talk about the crisis. I really want to focus on the solutions and the way forward. And because anybody could just come here and talk about the crisis. resources.
Of course.
But
Talk
then,
is,
you know, we have to identify the problems first.
yes, I know.
Then now profess
That was why
solutions
I
to the
kind of
problem.
mentioned so much of the problems earlier on when I was talking about, you know, from the policy makers
Yeah.
True.
to the national
National budget.
budgets to, you know, placing priorities on teachers' welfare and, you know, so like I was saying, that one thing our organization have tried to step into, Koskis Developmental Services, is to, you know, help focus on what is most important, which is the Nigerian child, the African child. Okay, and so how do we go about achieving these our goals?
Okay.
So we kind of help to school leaders, school owners, we kind of come in to give some strategic solutions to ensure that, you know, the school culture is being overhauled. There's a kind of change in paradigm, and helping all stakeholders in the school community to work together to create a high-performing school. So like I was saying, you know, it may not look so big now, but we know we are doing quite a lot, and in our own little space, because we know everything rises and falls on leadership. We have decided to take on this challenge and to work, you know, decide to take this bold challenge and then to give our best as much as we can to bring about solutions in the aspect of educational leadership. Because of course we have special needs, we have, I mean, it's a wide spectrum, but, you know, we're able to cap this niche and then give it all it takes. Our team are doing so much to ensure that there is a culture change in most of our schools.
You know, I'm quite intrigued, learning a lot, you know, especially the parts where you said you have to actually sit down with your partner, that is a
to
couple,
understand.
you know, to understand. And then you talked about preferring solutions and
Yes.
not looking at facing the problems that we have.
Exactly.
Now, when we talk about educational leadership, for private schools, it's
Yes.
easy
Yes.
for the owner of the school to, you know, form some sort of forum
Yes.
where teachers can be educated on how to deal with these students.
Exactly.
But for public schools, is not really
Yes,
easy.
well-
So
Yes.
now we have identified that as a problem. So
Yes.
what will you prefer? What solution?
Well,
will you
fantastic. We're already doing something too in the public space. That's amazing. We actually work in collaboration with a lot of organizations that are tailored towards low-cost schools. Remember, it's not just about public schools
Public
now. We
schools.
have another group. They are like in between. They are neither here nor there.
Exactly.
So we are actually working with Holistic Business Solutions, and they are carrying on projects on SEED, which is the Sustainable Education and Enterprise Development. We have also collaborated with a whole lot of African Legacy. It's a UK-based international company that actually looks into the aspect of children's reading and writing. So, you know, we kind of collaborate with all these other companies to provide support for the public sector. And we are still open for a lot more collaboration as time goes on, because we really want it not just about the private school child now, because, I mean, it's the larger society, so you never can tell. And every child has potentials, and then we don't have to look at the socio-economic status. So we're already doing a whole lot as well in that public space.
Okay. All right. You know, in educational leadership, we have the role of the parents,
Yes.
the teachers, and stakeholders also.
Yes.
So now, in a situation, because I have seen parents, like, you know, talk to their children. Maybe they probably, when they come back by 6 o'clock, and then, Mommy, I need to do my assignments or things like that. And then, why am I paying school fees? Your teacher. Or they hand over these children to lesson teachers or people who can coach them on subject, feeling like they do not have, and that's where the priority, misplaced priorities, you know, comes in place.
Yeah.
So now, how would you, you know, advise parents to be able to balance the educational life of a child and also the moral life, because every part of the child is important and necessary. It's not just about being educated.
Exactly. True.
Character-wise, you must be sound
Exactly,
also.
yeah. So it's such a fantastic question. It's more or less about informing them to have a change of mindset.
Okay.
The first thing parents need to know, they are the primary educators of their children. No matter how much you pay to someone else, no matter how much, I mean, in dollars, in euros, in pounds sterling, you are the primary educator of your child. And when I say educator, I don't mean maths, English alone. You know, like she was saying, there are various aspects of a child's development. The physical, the social, the psychological, the emotional, You know, of course, the intellectual, which is the academics that we, most of the time, we just keep hammering on. There's the civil aspect, there is the, you know, so it's kind of a very wide spectrum. So like I said, the first thing is parents must embrace the fact that I am the primary educator of my child, because maximum children spend like from 2 years to about 22 years. In fact, in these are times children graduate faster. So what happens afterwards? Have you ever thought about that? It goes back to the family. So while you're like, I paid.
You want a fast education.
I'm telling you, in the next just about 19, 20 years, the whole school system has done what they need to do. And they give the child back to you.
And then you take over.
So it's whatever you actually made out of it. In collaboration with the structured schooling system is what you have as the product. So who are we fooling?
True. You see, it boils down back to the parents.
Back to the parents.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. You know, so there's the part of, you know, children.
Yes.
Okay, I talked about children that have been difficult and all. But let me go back to that, because I know they are really, really stubborn children. They are really stubborn.
I don't
children.
think I would want you to address them as stubborn.
Yes,
Because probably strong-willed.
As labeled.
that
Okay,
like
let's
to,
use that
stand
word.
against.
Strong-willed. I was
Strong-willed.
stubborn. Can I?
Strong-willed.
Strong-willed children
yes.
that you would, even when you explain things to them, they will still tell you,
No.
I don't want to do this. And I think strong-willed is actually because they believe in what they are holding on to, and they feel you should listen to them, and
you let them listen
so
to you.
how at a point you might just have to
Be frustrated.
I can imagine where you're coming from.
yes,
You
so
must have that paradigm. There must be that change in your mind.
I'm just saying, aside trying to like whoop. What other way, aside from even you gave example of how you can withdraw their what did you call it?
Emotional
Reward from love languages
from them. Aside from that, what other way can you use? Because some parents don't even know how to withdraw.
Yes.
Let's face it. Truthfully.
Yeah.
Well, let me pick it up from where you talked about the fact that some parents don't know how to withdraw. You have to play whether you like it or not, as a parent, you need to play your role as a parent.
That's true.
Now, I've had instances where I've been a bit hard on my children, and they tell me, I'm not your friend. And I, come here. Look at me in the eye. I'm not your friend neither. My friends, Auntie Rhoda that came the other day, you say, yes, I am your mother. And you are my child. Yes, in some context, I could be your friend. And then parents need to understand the fact that when a child is born to the 6th year, that is the formative year. So whatever you're not going to accept for that child, you must be very firm. Because children will naturally try. True. So between the age of 7 and to about 12 is like the norming. So you begin to give him more options, choices, you begin to negotiate. Back and forth. That's what I do with my daughter, actually. She's going to be turning 8 in December. So we're already negotiating. In fact, this morning we still negotiated, and I allowed her to have a way. Because it has its own advantage.
Yeah,
She was able to grow up to have a mind of her
mind
own.
yes.
Do you get it? Then from the age of 12, once they are teenagers, that is when you become friends. In fact, if you start nagging at that point, you're going to lose that child. So understanding these different phases is very critical to effective parenting. Do you get that? So now, coming back to the aspect of disciplining, apart from love languages, and know your child. I would say know your child. Every child is different because they have come with unique strengths. Even the so-called, how will I put it, the opposite of strong-willed, the so-called conformed child that, very, mommy says this, they are the teacher's favorite.
Yeah.
Sit down there all day. They also have their weaknesses.
True.
Sometimes they are not bold. Sometimes they are not courageous.
Yeah. They just keep it in themselves.
So the other strong-willed child looks like stubborn. But it's a kind of a strength, and a weakness thing. So the very conformist child is always there. But so child are not daring. You won't see them coming all out for what they believe in. These are the children that will be bullied. So it's just like I said, knowing your child. You must be able to know your child. Identify the child's strengths, identify the child's weakness, help the child to focus more on his or her strength. And then for the aspect of the weakness, you should be able to understand and then begin to help him or her come out of it. You can't totally eradicate it, that's just the truth.
True.
And there's a reason why. It's just like to create a balance and to help us to have what we call the interdependence relationship. So your strengths are not my strengths are not, and that's what makes the workplace fantastic. And if you are preparing our children for the future of work, these are the things we need to begin to put into perspective. So for your weaknesses, you delegate them because it's someone else's strength. And then for your strengths, you develop it, and then you become like a superstar.
Okay. So, all right. It's quite important that we need to talk about this educational leadership because this at this part of the world, most schools have actually resumed. Students are in school now. No more vacation.
Exactly.
Vacation is over. And the teachers, parents, even students themselves, they need to understand the importance of educational leadership. Now, you wrote a book on personal leadership for educators. So we need to know the essential roles, the key roles of a teacher in the life of a student.
Yes. Okay, so sometime last year, I was kind of inspired. And I wrote that book under 2 weeks. People are like, ooh.
Wow.
Yes. Wow. And then, but of course, I had to do the editing for a couple of months, 7 months thereabout. And basically, what have I done in that book? I did a bit of my own story because I didn't arrive here. Bingo.
Okay.
It took a process. It took some. So I typically use the storytelling technique.
Okay, as experience is the best.
Exactly. And then, of course, then I after using my story from the place of discovery to awareness, at the point, of course, I didn't also want to study education. But at the point, I got to really know this was me. And then, so I owned it, but very early. So I was very, would I say, fortunate to be able to say, oh, this is what I'm caught for. And then I don't even feel like as if I work because I enjoy what I do. And so I wrote this book, and what I did in it, the introduction and the first chapter was just to talk about my own story and then help to clarify the concept of educational leadership and help teachers to realize that they need to take on personal leadership, not for anything, but because they are natural influencers.
All right.
And the more teachers can take on the responsibility to lead themselves, the better. So, there were principles that I shared in that book. I talked about plans and processes. I talked about
let's quickly just brush down the roles because our time, before it's fast.
Yes, okay, all right.
Let's just quickly brush down on the key roles of, an educator.
Yeah, well, the key roles, an educator is a friend, is a mentor, is a coach. Of course, the primary role of being a teacher is a leader. Very, very important. And the educator is how will I put it now? Someone that the children confident, someone that the children can confide in. In fact, we have teachers that children even confide more in them than in their parents. Yeah, so we are also like pseudo parents, but we have to be careful with that role because sometimes some educators take it overboard, and then we begin to evade farther than we do. So those are like some of the few roles in which educators are. So we're also entertainers.
Yes, because you need to create a fun environment.
Yes.
I've seen teachers that would, arrange things and say, what is this? And, that helps the child to be
and
more
even some
active.
teachers, I had a particular teacher in school then that used songs to teach something. I think it was an English teacher.
Yes.
Words,
We are musicians.
Yes, we sing and all. It helps. I still
We have classrooms where they do raps and all that now because that's just the best way to get some children. Those children are called rhythmic learners. That's just the best way to get information across to them. It is not the normal verbal speech.
Till tomorrow, I would still be grateful to my literature teacher because there are some books that, my friends, when I'm in the midst of my friends, they mention, I'm like, oh yeah, I know that book. Why? funny enough, I didn't really like literature, but he would ask you to come out and act
out
the book. So in the process
That's
of
role
acting,
modeling.
obviously
Yes.
you would not forget what
The
you're
role,
acting and the
yeah.
role you
played.
Even till tomorrow, I still tell people, I have a background in acting. You had to act
cool
out
one.
the role
Yeah.
that you are reading, and it helps
Exactly.
in examinations
Yes, it
it is
does.
now
Recall.
yes,
Yes.
because and then you just put down what you
you-
have done or
Yes.
what you've practiced.
In your own words. and in your
You know,
own way.
we could go on and on today, but Modupe, what have you learned today?
The first one that actually stuck, is amongst others, is the fact that as a parent, when even before you start having children, you have to sit down and talk. Talk about how you want, to bring up your children, the values you want to instill in them, what you want your home to be known for, and the fact that as a parent, you don't just leave all the job, all the work to the teachers. You have to be involved in your child's life, the education, how they learn. You have to be involved. For me, my parents were so good at it to check your book,
Wow.
make sure you're neat. Sometimes we even had lesson teachers from school.
Wow.
So they tend to ask, how is she doing in class? Is she engaging? And also as a parent, you have to be involved in your child's
Yes.
educational ability.
Now, you talked from the aspect of parenting. Now, I'm going to take my own lesson that I've learned from the aspect of teaching. Teachers out there, you need to imbibe the ability of being a leader. Be a leader. It's not just about teaching leadership. You have to be a leader, and then your students will follow suit. When they see you doing certain things, they would also do it, and that helps learning easier and better. And also know your student, know their ability, know their strengths, know their weaknesses, so you would know how to balance all of that. Thank you so much.
We are good
Tony.
students.
Thank you. Yes, fantastic.
we've
And I'm a
learned
good
a lot.
teacher too.
And I'm sure everyone watching or whoever is watching now must have learned something
Yes.
from today's episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And
A
this
big
is
token.
Yes, this is to appreciate
really
you
big
for
one.
coming on the show. Now,
Thank
this is
you.
from the crew team
Okay.
of Tea or Coffee.
Thank you.
so much for
Thank
coming.
Thank you. All right.
All right, it's
Thank
a
you so
wrap.
much
We
for
have
coming.
to go.
I have to thank you again and again. Thank you for coming to the show today,
Thank
because I
you.
really learned a
Thank
lot,
you.
and I'm sure our viewers
Yeah.
learned quite a lot from
Yeah.
you.
Definitely. All right, we have to wrap up and go now. It's still Tea or Coffee on High Impact Television. And do not forget, learn to always smile and put smiles on faces of people around you. I am Buraola Popola.
I am Modupe Jacobs, giving you my smile to keep you all through the day.
Yeah. Till we meet again, same time, same station. Bye.
Bye.